Hello and welcome
はい、
back.
今日はサチが全部4以上の通知表をもらってきたお祝いよ。
Welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. Last time, Sachi started looking back at all the things that made her so what she is today, I suppose, is one way of saying it.
手巻き寿司だ。サチは最近頑張ってくれているから、その分私たちもお返ししなくちゃね。お返し？
そうだぞ。何かのために努力するってことは口で言うほど簡単じゃない。だからそれができたサチのことを褒めるのは当然のことなんだ。
そっか。
あ、今回はサチが頑張ったご褒美にお父さんが何でも買ってあげるぞ。
I want a fucking pony. Give me a fucking pony.
何でもなんて言ってしまっていいんですか？
You should put a whole within reason on there.
たまにはいいさ。ほら、何でもいいから言ってごらん、サチ。
欲しいものはあんまりないかも。
え？
お父さんとお母さんに褒めてもらえてお寿司が食べられるならもう何もいらないよ。
Oh, what a good child.
サチ。
Don't forget, today's the episode when everything inevitably goes very wrong. Those were my true feelings. Of course, sometimes I did look at the pretty new clothes my friends wore and feel a little envious. And I sort of wanted to visit those fancy amusement parks I talked about on TV too. But when I went home after school, Mom and Dad were always waiting. The music box played its beautiful song in the background, and the people I loved had smiles on their faces. That was more than enough for me. But those tranquil days did not last forever. One day, word got out that Dad's family had received a contract for grinding lenses that would be used on a space shuttle. Really? That's a bit interesting. Did Japan ever really have much of a space program in that way? We contributed intricate metal molds that were now valuable manufacturing assets. With a sudden burst of publicity, a few major orders started trickling down to our workshop as well. Dad had always been skilled, and now he had the chance to prove it. In the blink of an eye, rumors were spreading about the high-quality precision dies our workshop produced. Before we knew it, our little branch of the business was flooded with more orders than even his parents' workshop. A year or so later, after these events, my life had changed dramatically. It looks largely the same.
Tadaima!
He's just super busy, turning into one of those super busy, like, okay, I gotta keep working on this, Sachi, for your sake. Yeah, she sounds so sad. Back from school, I yelled out a greeting to the workshop from force of habit, but there's no answer from Mom and Dad. Instead, I was welcomed home by the drone of industrial machines, a constant companion from morning through night. On the dining table, a gorgeous meal was waiting for me. The clouds of steam that proved the food was freshly made were missing. The pencils I used to wear down to the nub had all been replaced with nice new pens, but I no longer heard Dad's encouraging voice at my side as I studied. I could wear all sorts of brand new clothes, but Mom didn't sew shark appliques onto my dresses anymore. Appliques? I'm not sure I've heard that word before. At least not used like that. Among all these, what hurt the most was the simplest change of all. I no longer spent much time with my parents. Producing metal dies is precision manufacturing, requiring both high technical knowledge and natural skill. It was extremely difficult to find qualified new employees for such a small business. Dealing with a workload that suddenly doubled with the same number of people as before, there was no choice but to increase working hours proportionately. Or maybe you could just take on less work. They were getting by as they were before, so you could just say, hey, we're busy. We'll push you down the schedule if you want it, but we might not be able to meet your deadline if you don't want it. And I guess that might be enough to force some work away at that point, but it's a decision. You want to get enough work to be pretty stable in your life, but how much do you give up in order to take on all the work. Work-life balance. Work-life balance. The time Dad spent in the house became extremely limited, and the amount of time I spent alone grew dramatically. Even so, I wanted their attention just as badly as before. Sometimes I would sit up waiting, rubbing my drowsy eyes until the machines finally fell quiet.
お疲れ様、お父さん、お母さん。
ああ、幸か。
こんな時間まで起きていたの？どうしてもお父さんとお母さんに見てもらいたいものがあったの。見てもらいたいもの？ほら見て、今日は初めて理科のテストで100点を取ったんだよ。
おお、そうか。偉いな、幸は。
I imagine they're quite tired.
おめでとう、幸。
And when I did, my parents would listen to what I had to say. But even then, they didn't smile like before. Their faces were always lined with exhaustion, their eyes dull. I knew they were busy because Dad's family had been on TV. I just had to tough it out a little longer, and things would be back to normal. I did my best to believe that. I waited as patiently as I could for my parents to get less busy. But rather than diminishing, the work kept pouring steadily in. Even after 3 months, then half a year, the situation did not change or improve in the slightest. In fact, things eventually got so frantic that my parents hired a housekeeper to look after things. She cooked and took care of the laundry in Mom's place. She accepted the handouts I brought home. And when there was a parents' night at school, she was the one who showed up. The housekeeper was a diligent person who took her job seriously, and she was always nice to me. But that was not enough. For some reason, I never felt particularly happy when the housekeeper patted my head gently and praised my achievements. So one day, taking advantage of a brief pause in the feverish activity in my parents' workshop, I rushed up to Mom and tried to show off my latest test.
ごめんね、幸。お母さん、これから取引先の会社さんに行かないといけないの。
So are you on the business side of this?
何時になったら帰ってくるの？多分とても遅くなるから、また今度ね。せっかく苦手だった国語のテストで100点を取ったのに。
For the first time, I couldn't get her to even glance at the paper. I mean, I see where this is going, but I'm trying to figure out a way this could lead to a point of getting PTSD. I still remember the shock and anger I felt, crumpling the test into a ball. I threw it into a trash can. And on the night I turned 9 years old, okay. Man. I mean, they're taking advantage of the opportunity they were given, but man, they really got lucky with that. Getting so much publicity. Neither Mom or Dad were waiting for me. Instead, I was greeted by a feast our housekeeper had prepared and a pile of presents stacked up on the table. But I didn't have the slightest interest in the food in front of me, much less the colorfully wrapped boxes. This stuff is not what I wanted. The only thing on my mind was conveying that simple truth to my parents. So I sat and I waited. Even when the clock ticked past 9, and our housekeeper headed home. Even when unfamiliar shows started to appear on the television, which I left on so I could hear the sound of human voices, and I didn't budge. And a little after the hour hands and the clock crept past 11, the clamor of the machines finally came to a stop.
これで明日までに納品できるだろう。
でも、すぐに次の仕事にかからないと。
そうだな。ってサチ。
もしかして私たちの仕事が終わるのを待っていてくれたの？
そうか。それは悪いことをしたな。おお、そうだ。遅くなってしまったけど、9歳の誕生日おめでとう。
おめでとう、サチ。最近サチには寂しい思いをさせてしまったから、 プレゼントも大奮発したのよ。
Yeah, that's obviously not gonna make up for it. You guys should know that.
どうしたの？サチ、お腹でも痛くなった？
よく見たらご飯も全然食べていないじゃないか。
いらない。プレゼントもごちそうもいらない。だから一人でステーキを食べるより、機械の音が聞こえないお家でみんな一緒にカレーが食べたい。
And before I knew it, the words had slipped out of my mouth, and the tears were running down my cheeks. Those were the words I had kept shut away tightly inside ever since the workshop got busy. My honest, selfish feelings. For the first time in a while, I was the spoiled little girl again. As soon as the words left my mouth, my parents' eyes opened wide with surprise. When that shock gave way to awkward, troubled expressions, I realized the mistake I just made. I said something really mean to Mom and Dad. Oh, no, that's not. No, I think that's perfectly fair to express. You're not demanding anything of them. But if they don't understand your feelings, if they're thinking stuff like splurging on presents will make up for it, I think you gotta say that at some point, don't you? The instant I understood how selfish my words had been, my heart started to throb painfully in my chest. I stood up from the table and ran from the room, trying to escape the sudden wave of guilt. Oh my. Dashing. Cried your eyes out indeed. It's okay, Sachi, it's okay. Dashing to my room, I burrowed down into the futon and cried my eyes out. I was angry at my parents, who couldn't spare a single night for me even on my birthday. And I was angry at myself for being cruel to my exhausted parents, who'd been forced to work by circumstances beyond their control. It's a little bit more in your control than you want to admit here. In their control than they probably would want to admit. I mean, they obviously haven't figured out a way to balance them yet, and maybe that could come with time. But if they don't see the need for that, how are they going to do that? Obviously, her mother was like, "Oh, you've been feeling lonely." Maybe there's some realization of that, but I guess it depends what's important to them as well. Are they doing all this for the sake of running the business and being successful? Is it for their sake? Are they doing it for the family's sake? Which includes Sachi, etc., etc., etc. And if the family's not happy just because you're trying to be as successful as possible, then, again, work-life balance. It's a very fragile thing. Tormented by this jumbled mixture of intense emotions, I cried into my pillow until morning came. That was my 9th birthday. I guess I was thinking of ways this could turn into PTSD. You don't think they, like, reject a, an order that would, like, someone's like, "Oh, you didn't give us an order, we're gonna kill you," or I don't think that would be how this ever works in this sort of field or industry, but, I'm trying to think of ways that could go that direction. After that miserable day, I decided to change my way of thinking and start fresh. Maybe finally saying what I'd kept up locked inside helped. Maybe all that crying got all the poison out of my system. Either way, I found a new conviction to cling to. If what I've been doing isn't enough, I'll just have to try even harder. Not merely devoting myself to my studies, I began to actively volunteer for class representative and other student government duties. I threw myself into anything that seemed like it might put smiles on my parents' faces. Even learning to play the music box song they love so much. Probably because of that broad-spirited effort, my results at school rose so high that I broke the top 10 list for our year. Grades other than A disappeared from my report card entirely, and comments were increasingly filled with effusive praise about how I'd become an example for the other students. But even then...
お父さん、今日は終業式だったから通知表もらってきたよ。
おお、もうそんな季節か。
それでね、 今回は私、評価の数字が全部5だったの。
じゃあこの仕事が終わったらじっくり見せてもらうからもう少しだけ待っててくれるか？
もういい。
Seems like that didn't resonate, but okay. In the end, nothing changed. Oh. That's unfortunate. Even when I brought home a straight A report card for the first time, Mom and Dad didn't pay attention to me like they used to. If the best possible results were not good enough, it could only mean that my parents had started to hate me. Yes, that's it. Yeah, no, Sachi. No. No matter how good my grades got, it wouldn't make them start loving me again. They're probably working really hard on the job so they get enough money to run away together. I know kids can be a bit silly, but man. The more I thought, the more dejected I felt. Why had I even bothered to try so hard all that time? For I knew it, my legs had carried me to the neighborhood park where we'd once played together as a family. Ah, yeah, she hasn't met Yuuji yet, has she?
真ん中にある丸いベンチも、テントウムシの横にある砂場も、ずっと同じ。
But I might never be able to play there again. Not like I had before. I'm the saddest kid in the world, abandoned by my own parents. It was only a few moments after I convinced myself of this that I noticed the mysterious boy. Hey, Yuuji. He wasn't doing a thing, just sitting quietly on a swing, staring off into space. I'd always thought the park is a place where everyone played all the time, so that motionless boy struck me as out of place. What's that kid doing over there? Only a few seconds after that first twinge of curiosity, I walked right up to him.
ねえ、私の声聞こえてる？
Huh?
だから私の声聞こえてる？
Oh, should I do a kid voice? I don't know for Yuuji.
それとも聞こえてない？
If I couldn't hear you, I don't think I'd be able to answer.
ああ、そっか。そういえばそうだよね。
So, did you want something?
うん。あなたは何をしているのかが気になって。
Well, I wasn't doing anything, I guess.
何それ？
Well, my sister told me that sometimes people need to spend some time doing nothing at all.
へえ、あなたのお姉さんって面白いこと言う人なんだね。
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
でも公園は遊具がたくさんあるところなんだから、ブランコとかジャングルジムで遊んだ方が楽しいでしょ？ そう思わない？
Yeah, you're probably right.
じゃあ一緒に遊ぼうよ。
Huh?
私はここで遊びたいって思ってて、あなたも公園は遊ぶところだと思ってる。だったら一緒に遊ばない理由はないでしょ？ほら、行こう。
Ah, okay. The boy looked so painfully bored that even the saddest kid in the world had forgotten to feel sorry for herself. As he blinked up at me, completely dumbfounded, I grabbed him by the hand and pulled him along after me. That was how I met Yukin.
まずは何をして。で、そうだ。
What's wrong?
あなたの名前を聞くの忘れてた。
Yeah, I guess you did.
じゃあ改めて、あなたのお名前は？
Yuuji. Kazami Yuuji.
ユージくんか。じゃあこれからユウくんって呼ばせてもらうね。
Huh?
そっちの方が呼びやすいでしょ？
What's your name then?
私の名前はサチ。小峰サチっていうの。
Sachi? Shachi? Like an orca? Oh.
ねえユウくん、パンチしていい？グーで。
Ooh. Sorry.
それから私の呼び方もユウくんが好きに決めてくれていいからね。
No, Shachi. You're gonna be Shachi forever. Shachi. Okay, then. I guess I'll go with Sanchan.
やっぱ りさっちゃんか。
I mean, nothing else really comes to mind.
そうだよね。
Oh, you don't have to sound so disappointed. Oh my. After this brief exchange of introductions, we immediately got down to the business at hand. Playing.
じゃあ最初はあれからだよ、ゆうくん。
The jungle gym?
そう、まずはどっちが早くてっぺんまで登れるかの勝負だからね。
Wait, hold on a second. Oh my. Yuji seems a lot more... Yeah, Yuji seemed like he was a bit different as a child, definitely. Definitely. After deciding in the events on a whim, I forcibly started the game. Yukin didn't have any suggestions himself, but when I pulled on his arm, he'd follow. Pretty heavy-handed, I know. Anyway, we must have been fairly evenly matched in reflexes and strength. Every game was a competitive match. I was always the winner, of course, but only by a narrow margin. That made the games much more fun, so I just kept going and going. Before I knew it, the sun had begun to sink into the below the horizon. Oh, I think I need to go home pretty soon.
もうそんな時間になってたんだ。
Yeah, we ended up playing a whole lot.
ごめんね、遅くまで付き合わせちゃって。
No, that's okay. It'll be fine as long as I head straight home.
それならよかった。
Yeah.
それじゃあバイバイ、ゆうくん。
Bye. Thanks for playing with me today. Kind of weird for the person who got dragged around all day to say thanks to the person who's doing the dragging. It was also odd that I thought about Yukin the whole time, the whole way back home. I ended up so lost in thought that I barely touched the meal our housekeeper had made for me. Once he actually started playing, I think he enjoyed it just as much as I did. But when I was trying to think of new games, or when we stopped for a break, Yukin went right back to the expression I saw on his face at the start. Why was Yukin in that playground in the first place? It obviously was not to play. Maybe something bad happened at his home, too. You didn't go to the playground to play, right? Partly out of simple curiosity, I decided I wanted to see Yukin again. The very next day, I made my way back to the playground. Yo, Yuji! You're consistent. And sure enough, he was sitting on the exact same swing with the exact same downcast look on his face. With the exact same clothes.
こんにちは、ゆうくん。
Oh shit, I'm wearing the exact same clothes too. Hi.
今日は最初から返事をしてくれたね。
Well, yeah. You said hello to me again, Sachan.
だって昨日一緒に遊んだんだから私たちはもうお友達でしょ。
Friends?
それともまだ早すぎたかな。
Oh, he's smiling. No. Thanks for calling me your friend. Did I say something weird?
そうじゃないけど、ゆうくんはよくありがとうって言うなと思って。
So I'm guessing Yuji's thinking like, oh, she's so good at what he's probably thinking very highly of her at the moment. It's like, this person would call me their friend? Oh, I'm so grateful. Maybe. At least based on how he described his memories of the incidents beforehand. That's something else my sister told me. People who can offer thanks to others have a happier birthday life than people who can't, so...
ゆうくんはお姉さんのことが好きなんだね。
Huh?
だって昨日もお姉さんの名前が出てきたから。
Or rather, maybe he trusts her? I'm not saying he'd love her, but... I guess I did, now that you mention it. I guess I did. Oh, was this after? I forget what Yuji said in regards to timeline of his sister dying, right?
じゃあやっぱり
Yeah. Oh no, I did. He was talking about the advice. Sometimes I don't really understand what my big sister's thinking, and sometimes she's even kind of scary. But she's normally really nice to me, and I think I love her more than anyone else in my family.
そっか。でも今度は私もゆうくんのお姉さんに賛成する。
Really?
私のお母さんも言ってたんだ。誰かによくしてもらった時はちゃんとお礼を言いなさいって。
So I guess you love your mom, Sachan. Since you brought up her advice. Oh, she obviously does.
そうだね。私はお母さんとお父さんのことが大好き。
No kidding. As the conversation moved along, we slowly learned more about each other. Not surprisingly fun in its own way.
ねえユウくん、せっかくまた会えたんだし、今日も一緒に遊ぼうよ。
I don't mind, but is it really any fun playing with someone like me?
もちろんだよ。ユウくんも運動は得意みたいだし、どの勝負も接戦だったから、昨日はすごく面白かったよ。
Well, thanks. It's nice of you to say that.
ユウくんまたありがとうって言った。
You're right. But that was fine by me. For some reason, every time Yukin said thanks in that slightly bashful voice, I felt genuinely happy.
そういえば、ユウくんは何歳？
I'm 10.
じゃあ、私の方が年下だったんだ。
Right. Huh? Seriously? Oh, so I'm sure it was the other way around.
じゃあ、ユウくんは私の方が年上だと思ってたんだ。
Because you're better at me than at everything, and I mean you're stronger than me, and I'm a boy.
あ、ユウくんってばひどい。私が怪力女みたいな言い方して。
Well, maybe you are, Sanji. Sorry.
そんなに怒ってるわけじゃないから、謝らなくても大丈夫だよ。
Really? Well, that's good. I'd only been trying to tease the slightly timid Yukun a bit, but when he smiled with sincere relief to learn that I wasn't upset with him, I was surprised to feel my heart flutter briefly in my chest. Oh, the 9-year-old and the 10-year-old. Oh, feeling romantic stuff really early on.
そういえば、ユウくんはどうしてこの公園に来るようになったの？
I suppose it's not too uncommon at that age, but that's definitely one of those ages where you think most people are like, ew, girls, ew, boys, all that sort of stuff, you know?
もしかして聞いたらダメなことだったかな？
No, it's okay. I just came here because I didn't want to be at home.
やっぱり家で何か嫌なことがあったの？
Not really anything bad, but I didn't want to be in the way.
邪魔？
Yeah. You might not believe it, but my sister's what they call a genius. She just studies a little, she can win first prize at anything. That's how smart she is.
わ、すごいんだね、ユウくんのお姉さんって。
Yeah. But lately she hasn't been winning that many awards. At home she's been paying more attention to me than her paintings and, stuff. Dad got really angry when he noticed that. He told me, "You're useless trash, but Kazuki's actually worth something. Don't drag her down with you." So, oh my. Oh my. So I try to stay out of the house as much as I can, to keep out of my sister's way. Sorry, not really an interesting story, is it? Sad story.
絞りかすなんかじゃない。
Yeah, that's a horrible thing for a parent to say. Huh?
ひどいよ、そんなこと言うお父さん。
Yeah.
ユウくんは運動が得意だし、ユウくんと一緒に遊ぶのはすごく楽しい。それなのに、お姉さんの絞りかすだなんてひどすぎるよ。
Yeah? Sunshine.
ユウくんはユウくんでいいんだよ。だから自分はいらない子だなんて思っちゃダメだからね。
I am not convinced how... It has been a while. I don't remember the specifics of what Yuji talked about, especially in the other routes about his background and what his parents thought of him. Exactly. Obviously, his dad seems to have had a great opinion of him. It's been a fucking while since I did this. I hadn't intended to cry, but I was really angry at Yukin's stupid dad. And the way he didn't belong in his own home reminded me so much of my own problems. They sort of got jumbled together in my mind. I couldn't help shouting that it wasn't true, that I wasn't unwanted. Sorry, don't cry, Sachan.
私の方こそごめんね。泣いちゃったりして。
It's okay, thanks for getting mad for me.
違うの、私が怒ったの。
Because something bad happened at home, right? That doesn't matter. You still got angry because of what my dad said.
だってゆうくんが絞りかすなんかじゃないと思ったの本当だし。
Yeah. So in return, I'll play anything you want today, for as long as you want.
いいの？
Uh-huh.
じゃあ公園鉄人レースでもいい？
Oh no. Playground Iron Man?
これを初めてやろうとした時はお父さんが腰を痛めて途中でリタイアになっちゃったんだけど、最初は砂場のお城作りから始まって10回連続坂上がりとか運転2往復なんかもあって、
Oh my goodness.
最後は1回転できるまでのエンドレスブランコっていうプログラムなんだよ。
That's... I can't say I ever did that on the swing. I didn't think... That sounds incredibly dangerous, especially for a 9-10-year-old. That sounds a little...
じゃあゆうくんが家に帰らないといけない時間まで昨日みたいに遊ぶなら
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
じゃあ決まりだね。
I firmly wiped the tears from my eyes and seized Yukin's hand and set off running for the seesaw. From that moment, the day sped past in a blur. Covered in sand, the two of us explored every inch of the park, playing and playing until we'd passed the time we had to leave. And when I finally made my way home on that second night, I discovered a clear and pleasant change inside myself. For months, the droning sound of machines from the workshop had bothered me so much that falling asleep was always a struggle. But that day, I was snoring peacefully away the moment my head hit the pillow. Exhaustion from running around all day definitely had something to do with it, but more than anything else, I think it was because I suddenly felt so happy. In the park where I might never again play with my family, I'd stumbled across a nice boy my age. He was a sweet kid who said thank you at the drop of a hat, so things would definitely go well. We'd be best friends in no time. For some reason, I felt absolutely certain of that. I think he had to move after his sister died, right? I think that's what they said before. As it turned out, my hunch was on the money. After those first few meetings, Yukin and I started to play together in the park pretty much every day. At first, we headed home quietly when the sun began to set, and after a while, we naturally start to say, see you tomorrow. And when one of us couldn't make it for whatever reason, we let the other know in advance. Sa-chan, what are you doing over there?
何ってゴミを拾ってるんだよ。
Oh my. Yeah, but why?
だって次にこの場所で遊んだ時綺麗だった方が嬉しいでしょ。
Wow, you're so thoughtful, Sa-chan. I mean, lots of people might think the same thing, but that doesn't mean they clean up the mess themselves. And you did it without even thinking about it. You're kind of amazing. Did I say something weird again?
久しぶりに褒められたからちょっとびっくりして。
You haven't.
昔はね、私が頑張ったらお父さんとお母さんが褒めてくれてたんだけど、今は仕事が忙しいみたいだから。
Okay, in that case, I guess I'll have to take over for that job too for now. It doesn't seem hard to find stuff to praise you about. I think even I can handle this one. That okay with you?
それはいいけど。
Okay, in that case. Good job, Sa-chan. With those words, Yukin brought his hand to rest on top of my head. Okay. Old habits die hard, eh? It was far smaller than Mom's hand, little and Dad's, and yet... that moment, his hand felt gentler and warmer than any other I'd known.
ありがとう、ゆうくん。
No fucking problem, Sachi. Yukin didn't just play with me, he gave me the attention I'd been craving. When I did well or tried hard, he'd compliment me right away. When I messed up or tried something risky, he'd give me a few gentle words of concern. Apparently, that also had something to do with his big sister's teachings, but whatever the case, Yukin's thoughtful warnings made me almost as happy as his praise. Lately, I started to wonder why I was trying so hard when no one even cared enough to look. But now Yukin was watching me. I had a new reason to do my best. Okay.
それじゃあ見ててね。行くよ。
Playing Weeping Angels, right? It would actually be sort of funny if they didn't. Yeah, be careful, okay? I'm guessing hide and seek.
どう私ちゃんとできてたかな。
Oh, right, no, not to blink. Never mind. What did you do? Yeah, you spun all the way around perfectly.
ありがとう。
That's really amazing. Not that I'm much good at the horizontal bar or anything, but I've never done a forward flip even once.
そんなにすごくはないと思うけど、今日初めて成功したから最初はユウくんに見てほしかったんだ。
Oh, really? Oh, thanks, Sachan.
ちゅ
Huh?
これはいつも私と遊んでくれているお礼だよ。
I was... A kiss? Yeah, thanks. When I tried hard at something, Yukin would always praise me. Sometimes overflowing with happiness, I'd give him a kiss on the cheek in return. And more than that, I drove myself so hard in pursuit of some new achievement that I ended up passing out on the playground. Oh my. That was how much Yukin's words meant to me. Well, even back then, she had sort of an obsessive personality over pleasing people, didn't she? I mean... Passing out. Yeah, she started to become a danger to herself really early on. Oh my goodness. He had stepped into the gap left by my parents' absence, giving me the attention and affection that they no longer would. As I grew more and more conscious of what he meant to me, my daily life was quickly transformed. I spent less and less time inside the house. When I get home from school, I'd head straight off to the playground. More than anything else, I look forward to the time I could spend playing with Yukin. At home, the constant grinding of the machines and the perpetual silence of our music box were still painful. But I found I can endure them now. Not to say I didn't interact with my parents at all.
サチは最近よく公園で遊んでるみたいね。
We're very concerned about you. Your grades are dropping. You're not allowed to go to the playground anymore. Who's this Yukin person? Oh, he must be a horrible person. He's causing all these sorts of problems. Don't go there anymore.
ユウくんってこと友達になれたから。
I suppose this will be a test of how much the priorities have shifted since she was younger and spent more time with them.
そうよかったわね。
Okay, okay.
お母さんもお仕事頑張ってね。
When coincidence brought us together, we were able to hold slightly awkward but reasonably friendly conversations. Oh my goodness. Even so, I had stopped actively trying to regain their attention. In contrast to the steadily shrinking place my parents held in my heart, Yukin's presence grew larger and larger by the day. I'd wish it'd hurry up and be tomorrow so I can play with Yukin again. It didn't take long for those feelings to blossom to a faint but unmistakable love.
ね、ユウくんは好きな人とかいるの？
I think it's nice that at least Yuji and Sachi can both be happy. He's smiling and stuff. He was like so not smiling in the slightest before. Like I said before, I guess my sister?
そういう好きじゃなくて結婚したい人とか。
Proven. Mary, I haven't really even thought about that stuff yet. Sachan, are you thinking about it already?
私？
Well, you brought it up, so I thought you were probably interested.
そっか。そうだよね。
Yeah, so, do you have someone you want to marry? No kidding. Okay, then I...
でもね、私と結婚するには条件があるの。
qualified.
そう。靴飛ばしで私より靴が飛ばせる人。
At what now? Shoe kicking?
こうやってブランコに座ったままでどこまで靴を遠くに飛ばせるかっていう勝負なんだけど。
Wow. I get it.
だからね、ちょっとだけユウくんも。
Sachi, are you gonna purposely lose? Huh, me?
ユウくんが私より靴を飛ばせるかちょっとだけ試してみるの。
Sounds kind of fun, I guess. Sure, I'll play.
じゃあまずは私からね。
Confident, huh? Well, it does seem like something you'd be good at, Sachan. Wow, that went pretty far. Yeah, I'm not that confident, but... Yeah. Guess I can't beat you after all, Sachan. I purposely went a little easy on my kick, but I still ended up beating Yukin. Every once in a while, being naturally athletic can be a curse instead of a blessing. Especially when you talk yourself into a fucking corner. I spent that night curled up in my bed, bitterly regretting coming up with that stupid qualification in the first place. There must have been a better way to hide my embarrassment than that. And so time slipped steadily by, my feelings unspoken. But as my next birthday grew near, my relationship with Yukin started to change in a different way.
それでね、その時はお父さんがお母さんのことを怒らせちゃって。
Eh?
で、ゆうくん
I'm interested in what the fuck happened with Dad and Mom. Oh, sorry, I was kind of spacing out.
もう、ゆうくんが私の家のこと聞きたいって言うから一生懸命お話ししたのに。
Sure you were, man. Sure. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yukin had always listened intently to my stories. This is the first time I could remember his attention wandering in the middle of a conversation. But my unease was relieved quickly enough. He apologized and listened to the rest of my story. I figured he must have just had something on his mind that day. And yet... Sachan, do you think there's a god? Deep fucking conversations for 9 and 10-year-olds. You know, one who knows everything, one who can do anything. There's a god that strong watching over us, even things look really bad, it'll turn out okay in the end, right?
そうだね。私は神様を見たことがないから絶対にいるとは言えないけど、でも神頼みって言葉もあるくらいだし、神様はとっても強いんじゃないかな。
Yeah, that's gotta be right. God's gotta be really powerful, definitely.
多分。
Because everything always turns out okay for everyone in the end, right? Definitely. That's what I thought too. Thanks, Sachan. What? Sometimes he'd suddenly talk about God or other, weird stuff. More often, he'd sit rocking on a swing, staring off into the distance with a blank look on his face. It was the old familiar expression from the first time I met him. The expression he'd stopped making after we become friends. I had a vague idea that something must have happened at Yukin's home. When I was still just a kid, powerless to offer any real help. When Yukin asked me these questions, clearly searching for reassurance, all I could do was listen, nod, and try to hide my concern. At the same time, the blizzard of work that had buried my parents for so long was finally starting to slow down a bit. The machines weren't clattering quite as late into the night as they used to. Once or twice, I went home early to find my parents making small talk with strangers in suits. Like most kids, I did get pretty curious about what the adults were talking about, but when I eavesdropped, all I got was a whole bunch of words I didn't really understand flying back and forth. I got the idea they were talking about machines in the workshop, but the specifics went right over my head. They're probably buying replacements for the old machines while it's not so busy. But only a few days later, after I reached that conclusion, our housekeeper told me she'd be leaving the job. Apparently, Mom told her she'd be able to handle the chores by herself again. It was nice to have that my parents were getting less busy, that my mom would be looking after the house again, but at that time, my mind was so full of anxious thoughts of Yukin that I couldn't manage to feel happy about anything else. Lately, he'd been showing up at the playground a lot less frequently. Oh, why do I feel as though Yuji's gonna be the one to cause this?
ねえねえゆうくん、次は何して遊ぶ？
I just have a feeling that he's gonna be the one to have caused Sachi's PTSD and shit. I have a feeling. It's not a good feeling. Make me feel real bad. Sorry, I've got something I have to do today. I have to head home now.
そっか。じゃあまた明日だね。
I don't think I can come tomorrow. But I'll play with you the day after that, okay?
わかった。じゃあまた明後日だね。
Yeah, sure. Bye, Sachan. Our meetings slowly grew fewer and further between. The loneliness reminded me of the painful days when my parents had first begun ignoring me in favor of their job. Watching helplessly as Yukin trudged away, my mind churned sadness and fear. At this rate, Yukin's going to leave me too. I couldn't let that happen again. I couldn't let another person I loved abandon me. This time, I had to stop it somehow. Next time I saw Yukin, I decided to use my birthday as an excuse to coax him into spending more time with me. Oh, okay. The old blackmail. No, 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 no. Not really blackmail, but...
ね、明日は私の誕生日なんだ。
Guilt trip. That's what I was going for. Oh, really?
だから明日は私と一緒に遊んでくれる？
Actually, I probably won't be able to play with you for a while, Sachan. A bunch of stuff happened at home. I think it's gonna be hard for me to get outside from now on.
そんな、急にどうして？
Well, it turns out there isn't any such thing as God. Damn. Yeah. Nobody's gonna protect me anymore. I probably won't be able to play in the park like this again.
そんな。
I'm sorry. I know I should have told you sooner, but... Sachan, you always look forward to playing with me. I don't want to make you sad.
ゆうくん。
But vanishing suddenly without telling you would be even worse. So today, I came to say goodbye.
じゃあ、ゆうくんとはもう会えないの？
I don't know for sure, but it's definitely possible.
そんな。
And I snuck out of the house today, so I have to get back before Dad notices.
ねえ、明日は私の誕生日なんだよ。
I'm sorry I can't celebrate it with you, Sachan. Okay, I'm gonna go now.
待って、ゆうくん。どうしてもう一緒に遊べないの？私そんなのやだよ。せっかく仲良くなれて、これからもっともっとゆうくんと遊べると思ったのに、それなのに突然お別れしなきゃいけないなんて。私、明日も待ってるから。ゆうくんが来てくれるまで絶対いつもの場所で待ってるから。
The usual place. As Yukin slowly walked away for the very last time, I yelled at the top of my lungs, more loudly and more desperately than I ever had before in my entire life. But he never paused. He never turned back. Yukin's leaving me. Maybe I was right. Maybe everyone I love abandons me. Paralyzed by my miserable self-pity, I couldn't even chase after him. For a long time after that abrupt farewell, I could only stand stock still at the entrance of the park, wallowing in confusion and pain. And on the morning of my 10th birthday, rubbing my red swollen eyes as I crawled out of bed, I immediately realized something was different. For one thing, I couldn't hear the droning of machines that had been running from the early morning hours for months now, and for another, the smell of fresh miso soup was wafting through the air from the kitchen. Without Big Mom cooking, what about work? And so, half asleep and completely nonplussed, I wandered over to the living room, where an unexpected sight was waiting for me.
Ohayo, Sachi.
Ohayo.
They're actually taking the day off. Ooh, that's what it seems like. Mom and Dad were sitting next to each other on the far side of the table, almost as if they'd been waiting for me to wake up. After greeting me, they waited with gentle smiles for my answer. It was felt like I was reliving a memory from the days before they'd become so busy. The sheer surprise was such that it took a moment for me to find a response.
おはよう。
どうしたサチ？そんなに目を丸くして。
だって今日は機械の音がしないし、それにお父さんとお母さんがこの時間に家にいるなんて。
そうだな。自分たちのしてきたことを考えれば、サチが驚くのも無理はないか。
今までが今まででしたからね。
The two of them smiled sadly at each other, and then turned right back to me.
あのね、サチ、今日はサチの誕生日だから、お仕事はお休みにしたの。
Ah, that's a good reason to do that.
今まで 寂しい思いをさせてしまった分の汚名を返上させてもらおうと思ってな。
I didn't really know so much about her relationship with Yuji. Okay. She said she was going to go to the park and wait as long as it took. I wonder if she did that with her parents then.
夜になってケーキを食べながら誕生日をお祝いするまで、今日はサチと一緒に遊ぼうと決めた。
The words coming out of their mouths were exactly what I've been longing desperately to hear for so many months. It felt so much like a dream that I very nearly pinched myself. Mom and Dad would be at my side again, like they used to be. Just like when every day was full of happiness, we could play together as a family once more. It's what I'd wanted all along, even while I was playing with Yukin. I daydreamed countless times about this very moment. And that was real. My parents were giving the gentle, caring words I longed to hear. My heart should have been bursting with joy. And yet, what I felt instead was a dark, intense anger, as though a hidden flame, long smoldering in some hidden cranny of my mind, had found the oxygen it needed to burst into a blazing wildfire. No matter how hard I tried, they completely ignored me. Why now, all of a sudden? I'm sort of getting the impression that they took it to heart last year, and while it took them a while to really grasp on to what they needed to do it, that they worked hard in order to reduce the workload without giving up contracts and whatnot, so they could make stuff like this happen. I'm guessing that's the reason. Do they seriously think that taking one day off work is going to make me forget how sad I've been all this time? Good luck with that. Yukin took their place, and now even he's gone. So why? Why now? Why do they think they can just... Cold black bitterness spreading through my body. I lifted my head to give my parents their answer.
いいよ。別に遊んでくれなくてもいい。
Oh my.
私は一人でも平気だし。
Oh, she was having the thoughts about them hating her, even if she doesn't really believe it.
お父さんとお母さんが大好きなお仕事を休んでもらってまで一緒にいてもらおうなんて思わない。だからそんなに私の誕生日がお祝いしたいなら二人だけでやればいいんだよ。
Okay, the instant those lucky words left my mouth, I bolted out of the living room.
サチ、
待って、サチ。
They called out to me from behind, but I just kept running out the door away from our house. Not that I was headed anywhere in particular. Anywhere would be fine as long as Mom and Dad weren't there. I didn't want to see their faces. I didn't want to hear their voices. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me, my hands clenched tightly into fists, biting my lower lip until the sickening taste of iron filled my mouth. As I fled, the only thing in my mind was anger at my parents. Looking back on it now, it wasn't much more than an irrational outburst of pent-up emotion. So, rather than feeling happy at their promise to celebrate my birthday together, I was outraged at my parents for wrapping up all the sadness and pain I'd felt so long into those bland words about feeling lonely. Yeah, that's a simplification. And in the end, my blind, aimless flight carried me to that familiar playground. I hadn't consciously thought about making my way here. If anything, I was intentionally trying to stay away from the area close to my home. At some point, I definitely passed a hospital much further away than this place, though. Even so, some unconscious part of my mind had guided me to this destination. The impact of the previous day's events must have just been that strong. I couldn't simply accept that unbelievably abrupt goodbye. As Yukin left, I had screamed that I'd be waiting for him today. If I forced a one-sided promise on him, maybe he'd slip out of his house to see me. That selfish, childish hope was still alive inside me. Wiping the sweat away from my forehead, I looked up to the tall clock tower nearby. It's a little past 10 in the morning. Yukin always came to the playground about 1:30 on weekends, but I decided I might as well start waiting now. That way I'd be here even if Yukin came early, and if Mom and Dad showed up, I could always just run away again. Trying to disguise the pain and anxiety growing inside me, I forced myself to believe in the spur-of-the-moment plan. Gotta have some sort of help, right? I walked over to the swing set, where the two of us had always sat side by side, and settled into my seat. The day before, I told Yukin that I would wait for him in this park, but it wasn't like he promised to come play with me. He had not even responded to my words. There's no guarantee Yukin would come to this park. Still, I had absolute faith that he'd show up eventually, and I was pretty confident I could wait patiently until then. But as the clock tower's hand made its way past the 5, and my vigil approached its 8th hour, even that childish confidence began to waver.
やっぱりダメなのかな。ゆうくんとは昨日でお別れしなきゃいけなかったのかな。
I wonder. Are her parents gonna be out looking for her? Maybe get themselves hurt in the process? The playground had always felt too small for us to suddenly seem. That had always felt too small for us to suddenly seem an unbelievably large and empty place. Yukin had told me clearly enough that he couldn't play with me anymore. That even getting outside would be difficult from now on. Could he even make it to the park if he wanted to? Having regained the ability to think rationally with the passage of time, my mind ruthlessly chipped away at my unfound confidence. And finally, I arrived at the realization that I'd backed myself into a miserable corner. Once that timid thought passed through my mind, it was only a matter of time. The painful emotions I'd been covering up with my anger came bubbling back to the surface. I was really mean to Mom and Dad again. No, this was mean. The last time I wouldn't really say was mean. They were gonna play with me, and I ruined everything. This isn't any different from last year. Even if I go home tonight, my birthday's just gonna be Mom and Dad yelling at me. You know, they don't really seem like the type. They seem like they'd blame themselves. With each thought, the anxiety and regret swelled up uncontrollably inside me. Before I knew it, fat tears were running down my cheeks.
お父さん、お母さん。サチ。
When I squeezed my eyes closed to shut out the world, I saw my parents in my mind's eye. Their faces gentle and kind. No matter how lonely they'd made me, no matter how much I tried to hate them for it, in the end, I still loved them both very much. And the moment I finally understood, I thought I could hear the same familiar voices. Not in my memories, but somewhere nearby. I raised my head with a jerk, indifferent now to the tears that continued to pour from my eyes. Outside the park, just on the other side of the road, I saw my mom and dad. Even from a distance, I could tell they were covered in sweat. That they'd been desperately searching for me. Mom and dad are still mom and dad after all. The people I love most in the whole world. I should have known that all along. Why couldn't I have accepted them from the start? No. There's no longer any point in even thinking about it. I was wrong. Now all I had to do was apologize. All I had to do was jump into their arms and yell, "I'm sorry for being so selfish."
お父さん、お母さん。サチ。
Once the two of them noticed my presence, their expressions instantly melted with relief. I dashed out of the park overwhelmed with happiness. I heard a sudden roar of displaced air like the sound of a fierce wind. In the next instant, the world before me was filled with a colossal jet black blur. Okay, I was just thinking about how this felt like. This was feeling like, what do you want to call, like a tip, like almost even like getting to the point of almost being cliche, like, oh, I ran away from home, I realized I was wrong, I love my parents, let's go back and have happily ever. Whoop, car. Oh, yep. I heard the sound of something colliding with something else, then screeching to a halt nearby. I reflexively squeezed my eyes shut. When I timidly opened them, I was greeted with the unimaginable. Mom and Dad were stretched out flat on the road surface, almost as if sleeping face down. Dad didn't even stir. A machine with a dead battery. Mom twitched convulsively again and again. A broken toy. The blood pooling under their bodies crept slowly across the orange-tinted asphalt, dyeing the road a dusky red.
何これ。 何これ。
Oh,
お父さん、お母さん。
okay. I was just thinking about how this felt like. 何これ。
何。
I was just thinking about how this felt like. 何。
何。
I was just thinking about how this felt like. 何。
これ。
Those agonized groans, so totally unlike any other sound I'd ever heard my mother make, filled me with a terror too pure and too primal to express in words. My ears had begun to ring, as if to drown out the unpleasant sound of the truck's engine idling nearby. With every moment that passed, my breath became faster and faster. I couldn't fully grasp what had happened just before my eyes. I instinctively understood that it was something so awful as to wipe out everything that had come before into complete irrelevance. What do I do? What do I do? Right. I've got to call for help. Times like these, call 911 first or whatever it is in Japan. My mind was still capable of thinking about what I should do next. Yet my body was frozen on the spot, as if physically rejecting the incomprehensible situation before me. At the sound of my name, I turned my eyes back to the ground. My mother was dragging herself slowly across the road towards me, desperately trying to communicate something. The sight instantly reduced me to a panic frenzy. All I could do now was shriek her name. Lifting her trembling upper body ever so slightly off the ground, she slowly raised her face and then... Yeah, and then she spoke those words. I could see how someone could grow up blaming themselves for this. Yeah, I could totally see how someone could grow up blaming themselves for all this. But this doesn't explain everything else about her behavior, does it? All the obedience, all that stuff, the seeming training. And then again, I wonder where she went after this. In that instant, I thought I could hear something snap inside me. As my body began to quiver uncontrollably, the world was covered in a black shroud. A split second after the buzzing drone inside my head finally went silent, I lost consciousness entirely. Apparently, a local passerby quickly reported the incident, but it wasn't long before the ambulance carried us away. Not that I remember any of it. When I opened my eyes the next time, a full day had passed, and I was lying in a colorless hospital room. Oh boy. Yeah, I could very easily imagine the PTSD aspect of it, yeah. I wonder if the connection to Yuuji makes those memories stir up much more easily for Sachi at all. I wonder.
Sachi, 目が覚めたのか?
Wow, she does have an uncle. Great. I heard a chair scraping against the linoleum floor nearby. A moment later, a familiar face appeared before me.
ああ、おじさんだ。それより体は大丈夫か? どこかが痛かったり気持ち悪かったりしないか?
I gingerly moved my arms and legs several times, but I couldn't find anything wrong with my body.
大丈夫。
そうか。よかった。
My uncle smiled broadly at my words, tears in the corner of his eyes. I wonder if Sachi remembers. Still a little dopey from waking up, I felt a simple curiosity about the intense emotion so evident in his face.
ねえ、おじさん。何かあったの?
Oh, you know what happened. Oh, yeah. Hey, uncle. Uncle guy. Good fucking luck. When I put the question into words, my uncle averted his eyes, his expression filled with reluctance and pain.
お前の両親はな、サチ、事故にあったんだ。
As I totally repeated my uncle's words, a memory that had slipped cleanly from my mind slowly re-emerged. A small park died in the light of the evening sun. The smell of burning rubber. The smell of burning rubber. The sound of a truck idling. And finally, Mom and Dad lying in pools of their own blood. Okay, if you're gonna scream, this is probably the time to... The scene flashed before my eyes in perfect clarity. Reflexively, I tried to look away, but there was no escape. And in that next moment, my ears were filled with that awful droning buzz.
サチ
My field of vision grew slowly narrower, and a choking sense of paralysis spread throughout my body. It felt as though my body temperature had suddenly plunged. A violent wave of nausea and a splitting headache attacked me all at once.
おいサチ大丈夫か
It was so avoidable. So avoidable.
サチ
Hyperventilate? Oh no.
先生サチが目を覚ましたんですが急に苦しみ出して
As the world grew dim before my eyes, I could vaguely make out Michael shouting desperately for someone's attention. Wait, now I can't see or hear anything. Oh, guess I'm fainting again. The instant thought ran through my head. I plunged into nothingness. It would be full 3 days before I woke up again. Great. Okay, well, this is going well. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess it's not really Yuji's faults at all. I don't know. I don't think you could blame that on anyone involved. Yes, things were done wrong, and choices and whatnot led directly to events happening, but I don't think you could blame anyone for that. I guess they didn't really elaborate on what happened, so I don't know if the driver would be more at fault for not noticing it, or how distracted her parents were, obviously jumping out into the road. But yeah. Then you have the fact that they both probably died thinking that she hated them. Oh. When the nurse noticed my eyes were open, she immediately called the doctor in charge, who conducted a quick examination on the spot. Determining that I wasn't so severely impaired as to cause difficulties in ordinary conversation, the doctor began to explain many things to me. Uncle Akihiro, who came running over to the hospital, soon joined in as well. That day, Mom and Dad had been in a traffic accident right before my eyes. Just as I ran out towards them, a truck with a drunk driver. Okay, great. Drunk driver behind the wheel had barreled through the intersection, ignoring a red light. Hit head-on by a massive vehicle which had been traveling at 60 kilometers an hour or more, my dad died instantly from massive blunt force trauma. Mom had miraculously survived, but at the moment she was still unconscious, fighting for her life in critical condition. Oh, she is alive, so meaning she... Okay, she's... When I learned all this, I didn't cry and grieve, and I didn't explode with anger against the man who'd caused the accidents. The words the doctor used were really hard to understand, so a lot of the conversation went over my head. That probably had something to do with it. But more than anything else, nothing about the situation felt remotely real to me. That night, finally alone in the darkened hospital room, I flexed my legs and arms thoughtfully. No matter how many times I tested it, my body didn't feel injured. I could move just as freely and easily as before. And maybe Dad was dead. Maybe Mom was lying unconscious somewhere in the hospital, but I hadn't seen either of them yet. So maybe everyone telling me about this accident was just lying. Maybe if I get up out of bed and head straight home, my parents would just be waiting for me there. My thoughts persistently returned to these comforting, paper-thin theories. He might. Very small likelihood, though. And more importantly, in the depths of my mind, a clear memory remains. Yeah. The instant my thoughts brushed against the fragment of the past, I could hear my heart throb violently in my chest. This time, the shrill buzzing that had accompanied the similar incident 3 days earlier were conspicuously absent. In exchange, the most severe headache of my life fell upon me, with all the suddenness and force of an avalanche. A sharp burst of pain, as if my body was warning me not to touch an open wound, robbed me of the will to think. And I'll just stop trying. I'm sick of fainting. As soon as I emptied my mind, the headache vanished with astonishing speed. My breaths came easier, and I could feel my heartbeat gradually returning to its normal rhythm. There's something wrong with my body, after all. Nothing like this ever happened to me before that day. Yeah. She doesn't seem to be blaming herself at the very least. So... that's a positive? As my mind began to reach a conclusion I didn't want to accept, I involuntarily recalled the agony I just endured. If I remember what happened, that pain would come back. The ensuing wave of terror wiped all else from my mind, pulling the blankets over my head in search of refuge. I waited for the morning to come. Did that accident I kept talking about really happen? Several days later, that disbelief still lingering in my mind, I was taken to visit my mom in the intensive care unit for the first time. After carefully disinfecting my hands with alcohol, the nurses dressed me up in a hospital gown just like theirs. They finally ushered me into the room. Just as they told me, my mother was inside. But the person lying in the bed in front of me wasn't the mom I knew. There was a huge oxygen mask covering her mouth. Bandages were wrapped around her head. Numerous tubes were sticking out of her body, connecting her to all sorts of machines. The sight reminded me of nothing so much as the Frankenstein monsters I'd seen in movies. But this was reality. The day the accident happened exactly as they told me. And now my mom was sleeping in a nest of machines. In the instant I finally perceived that undeniable fact as reality, and I was struck by a powerful wave of nausea. The hospital room grew dark before me, and in that darkness, a fuzzy image flickered before my eyes, disappearing for the briefest of moments only to re-emerge, like some pale, indistinct horror, bobbing up and down just beneath the surface of a muddy lake. Unable to endure the sickness swelling up from the core of my body, I vomited up the contents of my stomach on the spot and was hastily carried out of the room by the nurse who accompanied me, which is very good because they disinfected you and all that stuff, right? Which means you probably shouldn't have done that in the room, for better, whether you can control it or not. After that, I tried to return to the ICU numerous times, but the outcome was always the same. Then when I saw my mother in a hospital bed, I experienced severe nausea and was quickly removed from the room. My doctor took these events very seriously and eventually forbid me from visiting Mom for the time being. That night, I laid awake in bed until after the lights had been turned out, unable to fall asleep. I hadn't suffered any real injury, so sitting around all day often left me with too much physical energy. Sometimes I would go an entire day without feeling hungry, or lie awake in bed for hours. And today, the things I had heard during the daytime were also weighing heavily on my mind. I lay in my bed, staring at the now familiar tiles on the ceiling, and thought about my parents. Yeah. Does not seem to be an optimistic situation. She might never open her eyes again. Sometimes I'd overhear my uncle talking about it with the nurses in lower tones. Apparently Mom was sick with something called a persistent vegetative state. Okay, yeah, that's a problem. From what I could figure out, that meant the possibility she'd wake up again was really, really low. Mom's going to be asleep forever and ever. In other words, I'd never be able to talk to her again. A bit of frustration welled up inside me at the thought. Oh, no one ever said it was. But no matter how hard I tried to deny the reality, nothing would change. Even if my parents' job would no longer keep us apart now, it definitely wouldn't now. The blissful days I'd wished for would never return. The more I understood the situation, the heavier my despair grew. Tears spilled relentlessly from my eyes. My mind was filled with a miserable new question. Why? Why had it turned out like this? Okay, this is probably when she's gonna start blaming herself, right?
あの日は私の誕生日だったのに
Happy birthday, Sachi.
本当ならゆうくんと一日中遊んで去年よりもずっと楽しい日になるはずだったのに
Yeah, this is one hell of a low point. But in reality, I hadn't been able to see him. And because of the sudden accident, Dad was dead and Mom was sleeping forever. Everything. Everything I love had been taken from me in one horrible instant.
どうしてこんなことになったの私どうして
Right, she's remembering. When I squeezed my eyes shut in attempt to escape the cruel reality of the situation, I thought I heard someone's voice in my mind.
ねえサチどうしてあの時家を飛び出してしまったの
Wow, this is a perfect way for her to start blaming herself, isn't it?
どうしていい子にしていてくれなかったのお母さんもお父さんもトラックにはねられてとても痛かったのよ
Oh, I believe you. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
やめてよ
Since I accepted the accident had really happened, these feelings have been lurking unacknowledged in the depth of my mind. That accident happened because of me. If I had listened to my parents and stayed in the house, they wouldn't have been in the street when that truck ran the red light. Even Yukin, I selfishly tried to manipulate him to come into the park. Maybe that's why I didn't show up. Maybe he just finally got sick of me. In other words,
全部私のせいだ
oh, it's just a matter of time, I suppose. As I spoke those words, the ringing in my ears returned for the first time in a while, harsher and shriller than ever before.
これ
A dull paralysis spread through my body, very similar to what I used to experience before fainting from overexertion on the playground. But the venomous chill crawling at my spine clearly signified that this was something else entirely. Something shadowy and unfamiliar and malevolent was attacking my body. My heart thumped violently in my chest, and in that moment, the world froze around me. It was cold, a solid ice, so frigid as to cause physical pain. My clenched teeth began to chatter loudly. My mouth was wide open. I desperately gulped down oxygen in a little gasp. Every breath a painful struggle. I was wrong. Something even worse is coming next. The voice rang out in my mind, as I knew it would.
サチどうして
And so, the nightmares began.